Welcome back to Pastry Maestra. I'm Tereza and today I'm making Irresistible Gourmet Chocolate and Hazelnut Tart. Today I'm making delicious chocolate and hazelnut tarts. But first, let's talk about molds that I'm using. These are stainless steel oval perforated tart rings. Of course, you don't have to make oval tarts. You can use any shape of mold you like. Now, if you have never used these molds before, you will realize it is totally different than using a traditional tart mold. How different? Well, I'll explain that in my video, so stay tuned. Now, I've decided to make a tart that is not only delicious, but also with a touch of class. So, I've wrapped my chocolate-dipped hazelnut in a 24-karat edible gold leaf. Yummy and blingy. Now, what is the reason why do we love gold in the first place? Well, for one, it's shiny. Also, it is precious and rare, hence the glamour that surrounds it. Finally, it is a highly versatile material. In fact, the world as we know it would literally grind to a halt without gold. Did you know that the first use of gold has been traced to Alexandria, Egypt, over 5,000 years ago? True story. The Egyptians were the first to use gold as a precious metal. They made jewelry, but also consumed gold because they believed it purifies mind and body. The alchemists of Alexandria developed an elixir made of liquid gold, which they believed was capable of healing the body of all earthly diseases. Unbelievable, right? Now, the gold leaf I'm using today was made by pounding and rolling over and over again a slab of gold until it became about 1/8,000 of a millimeter thick. Now, is gold really edible? The answer is yes, gold is actually edible, but don't expect much. It is tasteless, biologically inert, and of no nutritional value, so don't go too crazy with your gold diet. Well, why would you use it at all, you ask? Simply to add glamour to your dessert, to make it blingy, that's all. Okay, let's make some irresistible gourmet and classy chocolate and hazelnut tarts. As usual, the recipe is on my site and the link is down below. To make shortcrust pastry, I've placed sifted flour into a large bowl. I'll add sifted almond flour, powdered sugar, and vanilla powder and stir with a whisk. Then I'll add cold butter cut in cubes and rub the dry ingredients into the butter with my fingertips until I get crumbly mixture. Now I'll add egg yolks and make the dough. I will wrap it in plastic foil and leave it in the fridge for about 1 hour. I've placed a piece of parchment paper onto my counter and now I will put half of my dough onto it. I will roll out the dough to 2 mm, which is 1/12 of an inch thickness, using my adjustable rolling pin. I'm rolling from the center towards one end, at the same time holding the opposite side of the paper with my hand, so the paper doesn't slide. I will sprinkle some flour to prevent the dough from sticking to the rolling pin. I will put everything in the freezer for about 20 minutes to chill. I will be using oval-shaped perforated tart molds. Circumference of my mold is 30 centimeters, which is 12 inches. Using my tart mold as a template, first I will cut out 3 oval-shaped pieces of the dough and each piece will be the bottom of my tart. Then I will cut 3 approximately 2.5 centimeters, which is 1 inch wide strips that will be the sides of my tarts. I will measure my strips with measuring tape and trim them to 30 centimeters, which is 12 inches length. I will repeat rolling and cutting procedure with the remaining pastry because my goal is to make 6 tarts in total. I've placed my tart mold onto a perforated silicone mat. First, I will carefully line the sides of the mold with pastry strip. I will cut the excess pastry and smooth it with my fingers. Then I'll put the mold in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes. I've prepared a paper template which is about 4 mm, which is 5/32 of an inch smaller than my tart mold. I've put it onto the elongated piece of pastry that will be the bottom of my tart, and now I'll trim the pastry using my small knife. Then I will insert the pastry into the mold. I will smooth the bottom with my fingers. Finally, I'll trim the excess pastry using my small knife. I'll put my lined molds in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes. My dough is chilled. I will dock the bottom with a fork and bake my tarts at 180 degrees centigrade, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit, for about 8 to 10 minutes. My tarts are done, and now I will brush their interior with egg wash. I'll put them back in the oven for another 2 minutes, and then I will leave them to cool down completely. To make crunchy layer, first I've put melted white chocolate into a bowl. I will add hazelnut paste and crushed tuile cookies and mix with a silicone spatula until well combined. Now I will transfer a couple of teaspoons of the mixture into my tart. I will smooth the crunchy layer using my mini spatula. Then I'll put the tart in the freezer until the crunchy layer is completely set. To make ganache, I've melted gianduja chocolate in the microwave on low heat. Now I'll add cream that I've previously heated up in the microwave. I'll stir with a whisk until the ganache becomes smooth. Then I'll add softened butter and stir until it melts. I've transferred my ganache into a piping bag without tip, and now I'll fill my tart all the way to the top with it. Then I'll put it in the fridge until ganache sets. To make hazelnut whipped ganache, I'll soak gelatin in cold water. As soon as my gelatin softens, I will take it out and squeeze to get rid of the excess water. I've placed cream into a bowl, and now I'll add glucose syrup and vanilla powder. I will heat up this in the microwave. Then I'll add soaked gelatin and stir until it melts. I've put white chocolate into a bowl, and now I will strain hot cream into the chocolate. I will blend this mixture with immersion blender until it becomes uniform. Then I'll add hazelnut paste and blend the mixture once more. I will cover the mixture with cling film and leave it in the fridge for a couple of hours. While my ganache is chilling, I will make chocolate decorations. Since I want my chocolate rectangles to have some texture, first I've crumpled a piece of aluminum foil, and then I've partially smoothened it with my hands. I will pour some tempered dark chocolate onto the foil. I'll spread the chocolate using an offset spatula, and then I will leave it until it becomes partially set. My chocolate is partially set, and now I'll cut rectangles 12 by 3 centimeters, which is 4.7 by 1.2 inches in size, using my rectangular cutter. I will put everything in the fridge for about 15 minutes until the chocolate sets completely. To make chocolate curls, I've lined a cardboard tube with acetate sheet. I've put tempered dark chocolate into a paper cone, and now I'll pipe random lines across the tube. I will put the tube in the fridge until the chocolate sets. I'll carefully insert a toothpick into one hazelnut. Then I will dip it in chocolate and shake until the excess chocolate drips down. While the chocolate is still sticky, I will wrap the hazelnut into gold leaves until it is completely covered. Then I'll put it in the fridge until needed. My ganache is set. I've transferred it into a stand mixer fitted with whisk attachment. I will mix it on medium speed until ganache becomes nicely whipped. I've put my whipped ganache into a piping bag fitted with 12 mm, which is half an inch tip, and now I'll pipe 5 blobs onto my tart. To assemble my decoration, I will pipe a blob of chocolate onto my chocolate rectangle. Then I'll place a couple of chocolate curls onto it. I'll pipe another blob of chocolate between the curls. Finally, I'll carefully place 1 golden hazelnut onto it using my tweezers. I will place the whole assembly onto whipped ganache blobs. There, my Irresistible Gourmet chocolate and hazelnut tarts are done. Enjoy!
Oh baby, you are so sweet, so delicious and yummy, so good to eat. I wanna lick you, feel your sweetness on my lips. Forever and ever, you'll stay on my hips.
I'm Teresa. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to stay in touch, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and of course, visit my site where you can find elaborate posts with lots of pictures, additional information and recipes that follow my every video. Also, on my site you can download my free 365 pages ebook, The Pastry Chef, and maybe buy me a macaron, if you think that I've earned it. Now, before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That really helps a lot. Finally, and this is the most important thing, don't forget to create sweetness every day, because sweetness is happiness. See you in my next video. Bye!